Samoa's natural waters are special. Something goes in there, comes out different. Natural Samoa water, the taste of nature in a bottle.
It's a wale mai yo le leo se o le a avea mau sui fifilia mo lau saufanga i nupi wha. O le tu langa i whaingo fia i nupi wha na whasafua lau saufanga ni whamanianga mai nupi wha. Mo e pe le mama mai ati oi. Asa suwane se ofisa nupi wha la tani. E wala ang mai i onu wha lalu o o.
Salve Samoa, I'm Jack Levin. For any competition, I'm all about speed, skill, culture, and of course, my technique. Wow, Leo.
The United Nations recently supported this great pleasure to welcome you all here today.
O lauin siwa e au wala i se te unga tupe mole na manai manuia. E mole puipuinga tau tupe o lau soifua, mai mawhai o na taunu no atu, mo so se mahua anga i te whina ngalo iai.
Samoa Life, le insiua mo tangata nuu o Samoa.
We're here to give the opportunity to people for full-time work in New Zealand as a skilled worker, so trades, carpenter, mechanic, or anyone who's successful with the quota.
I feel my name loyal in Federal Pacific Finance, no so mana onga tau tupipa, serving Samoa's financial needs.
Anyway, every man and woman is a spiritual being. Therefore, everybody should believe that there is a God. Now, in the Christian religion, our Bible says that God created man, male and female. But the Bible doesn't say whether male, female, were Samoans or Europeans, no race, even no status. But they are common with one thing, they were made in the image of God. And that, as Christians we believe, is the basis of our human rights. Because I carry the imprint of God's touch, of God's mind, I have my rights. And because you do, you also have your rights. But then somebody said, I am not myself on my own. And very right. You will never be yourself on your own. Your right can only be your right when you acknowledge my right. And that is human right. Now the other thing about this God we believe in, we don't know what language he gave to Adam and Eve. Somehow I think God told Adam and Eve to speak Samoan. So this morning, I will lead us in prayer in Samoan because I know God understands the only language he believes he gives to Adam and Eve. Let us pray. le tūro mātou te māma e nganga whafti tele mātou te vivi e tuai, e whtai. Te tei while mo mai soi fua e lātou nei, whātasia māu leo luma e mamori rogi inga. Au tai le malosi o moa le leitai au mātou te amatai le nei aso, o e whaapoko mai i whaite wino aso o mātou wona. E le mona hoia nganga whaftai. Ia ono malo longa toa malia me le while mua ko me e tau sia mo iaira mātou wona e ko sa. Ua e sia fia le whamambora nei tai au, ma ko kalame o whata oto o whata tia. Whamambora ala ma iaira o whitalai awa oi nā tiki mātou le tāua. Wa ia te tau e te tau na tau ame ina pere mātou noto o lātou tāua. Se iau ana mātou wane ele. Misi foi o lea ia te tau whakutora nei tae au. Ina ia apa o ina lau whanau e whakufane le langi. Me lama ino lātou laiti se iau atu lama ina mātua. Taro i lau whamanianga i ai mātou lunga ma le nei whakutonga. Taro fo iau whamanianga i whapeona le gini ifo i lunga o le nei atunu o lo uso i ani whi au masani. O e uso i mai mtaunanga o na whiamu ngā ruene o lātou ofisa. O e fwoi uso lea i ngā te whale ma le tua wao le whatimo ina o le tautua. O e fwoi e pe tutono mātou ainga na lātou fwoi mtawhaioi o le tāpuai a tālasia le alo i whiau le tunuku le yaso. Na mātou te tālo o maria i whapeo na pai mai le mātou wola. Mātou te tālo fo i le ia o alama mea o le o iele mātou lenga na mātou o iai i whapunu ino le nei kukulame i whapio nāla me e o whamurianga o mātou. Lawa ono Yesu mātou te tālo tuai. Amen.
Nā tua leo mai ang si o tātou whale tautu le langu, se sula whala whalani. Tapatini o tausala ai lao e ni whanau moi. Nara lafo iei ma mea tātou tau lei tu sa i upu whala ai lao i nei tai au. I mele mui atu leon whakatai tele lau sunga i tai o sauninga, sunga tu i namaro o manumaro, o le tai ei na lei sa mātou wala watu. Lau whale le ngā fulu mlau sunga ula i nei tai au, una tu masusua ai o vaiola, ia ai uni vaiari o mātou tu ngā tauwha. Wai whanau moi o nei asu. I lau mātou tartununga, manuia o whaiva ma tātou atunu. Ia, o roho le mana o tō tāu sanga. Ma lor tāpena, ia, natu leo a tāpena mai o tātou ofisa, ia, te tusike, ia, o ari o tuino rosa. Next on our program, we have one of our known advocates for human rights for more than 20 years in Samoa. He is the current acting ombudsman for our Samoan office. Please welcome Mr. Mawalai Vau Fawalo Pepe Sayuri for his remarks.
I would like to acknowledge the presence of Reverend Elder Fuanasiri. Thank you very much for your opening prayer this morning. Mr. Temba Kalua, United Nations Resident Coordinator. Fionga Al Christopher Peter Hazelman, the Chief Executive Officer for the Ministry of Education, Sports and Culture. As you know, the theme of this year is right to education, is to celebrate human rights and in particular emphasis right to education. That's why Chief Executive Officer for Education is here today. This is the ministry he has. As you all know, Mr. Ayao has been well known in the education field him being a school teacher, principal, and Vice Chancellor of the National University of Samoa. Is currently the Chief Executive Officer of the Ministry of Education. After I did it a few minutes of you, I know that you are a very busy man and there's too much on your plate. Nevertheless, you have decided to accept this invitation at short notice. Thank you for your honoring us with your presence. Mrs. Neriko Ruchi, Charge Affairs from U.S. Embassy. Thank you for coming along and be part of this celebration. Mr. Matthew Scanlon, Second Secretary for the Office of the New Zealand High Commission. It's a pleasure to be with us here today. Mrs. Marcelina Yuta, Human Rights Educator. Okalani Marina, Child and Youth Advisor for the Human Rights Advisory Council of our office. Now in charge of the, it's not a Supreme Court judge, but the charge of this special competition. Ayaoki, Education Program Specialist from UNESCO, Pacific Islands. Thank you. Deacon Mua Tonopoko, Early Childhood Development Program Officer from UNICEF. Thank you for part of this program, this celebration. Representatives of civil society organizations, ladies and gentlemen, I offer up and thank you for accepting our invitation today. The Office of the Ombudsman in 2013 amended its original Act 1989, and in it inserted the mandate for National Human Rights Institute as part of its mandate, normal conventional Ombudsman Office Act. And as well as a Special Investigations Unit, another new mandate that was inserted in 2013. And it's now called the National Human Rights Institute. This year we celebrate 75 years since the United Nations adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights on the 10th of December 1948. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights is a milestone document in the history of human rights. It was drafted by representatives with different cultural and educational and legal background from all regions of the world, and was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly as it is known as Resolution 217A, as a common standard of achievement for all the peoples and all nations of the world. It sets out for the first time the fundamental human rights to be respected, protected, and promoted around the world, universally. And this document has been translated into more than 500 languages. It is widespread recognition for paving the way for the adoption of more than 70 other national human rights treaties, such as the one that we recently celebrated, mentioned the right of the child, and a few others. Therefore, we celebrate this historic event in collaboration with the United Nations Office of the Resident Coordinator, Kalua here. We bring about this event with the theme Revitalizing Human Rights Awareness with a focus on the rights to education in Samoa. Human rights education is important for everyone, including our children. It should be an ongoing conversation between peers, friends, and within our families that everyone is made aware that all people, regardless of background, race, culture, and religious beliefs, have equal rights. These rights include the right to education. The mandate of this office through the National Human Rights Institute is to promote and protect these human rights in Samoa. Today, we exercise that role through discussions on inclusive education, poetry, and TikTok competition, for which a panel of assessors and judges are here for. Human rights, after all, is all about respect for the human dignity, equality, and security for everyone, everywhere, every day. I pray that this event will help the participants understand the true meaning of inclusive education, so as to detail the right to education, of which I will be talking about and addressing you today. Thank you to the participants who took part in the poem and the TikTok competition. I trust you all have learned a great deal from your writings and expressions. I wish you all a fruitful deliberation this morning, and congratulations to all the participants and everyone here present. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has been 75 years since the world came together to launch the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This has been the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. To speak on the significance of this global celebration, please welcome the newly appointed United Nations Resident Coordinator, Mr. Tempa Kalua.
Thank you, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. I would like to begin by recognizing Reverend Elder Otofua Naseri. Thank you for opening this important event with a word of prayer for us. The Acting Ombudsman, Maula Avio Pepe Seul. I'm still practicing Samoan names which are very special. The CEO for the Ministry of Education, Sports and Culture, Afiona Ayu, Christopher Peter Hazelman, my friend Moriko, the charge d'affaires for the US Embassy, and our colleagues and friends from the Diplomatic Corps, the members of the Advisory Council to the National Human Rights Institution, representatives from civil society organizations, my colleagues from the United Nations, ladies and gentlemen. But it's also good to see that this morning we are joined by young people and children who are here with us for this event. So I would also like to recognize them. Talofa lava, and a very good morning to you all. I'm delighted to join you this morning on behalf of the United Nations system for this important event, which is part of the activities in Samoa to mark the 2023 Human Rights Day, which is on Sunday, the 10th of December. The United Nations takes immense pride in partnering with the Office of the Ombudsman in organizing this important event. As you heard from the Acting Ombudsman, since 2013, the Office of the Ombudsman has played a pivotal role, not only in playing its also as an independent national human rights institution dedicated to the championing and safeguarding the human rights of every individual in Sudan. 75 years ago, on 10th of December 1948, the nations of the world came together to declare that all human beings, are born free and equal in dignity and rights. So as we celebrate this year's Human Rights Day, we are also marking the anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which in short is UDHR. So through its 30 articles, the UDHR underscores the fundamental human rights that all governments must guarantee for all, from justice and freedoms such as freedom of religion, expression and movement, freedom from torture and violence, and adequate standards of health, food, housing, employment, and education. Today, we are witnessing conflicts in many parts of the world, with women and children bearing the brunt of the violence and the suffering. Climate change that is threatening all humanity, but especially Pacific Islanders like Samoans, and political divisions among governments, which hinder effective international response to this crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, this underscores the continued relevance of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, proving that its principles are as crucial today as they were 75 years ago when they were introduced. It is a sobering reminder that we cannot take our human rights for granted, and that these crises result from human rights not being respected, implemented, and prioritized. We need renewed commitment by all states to act in line with international law and agreements which they themselves have crafted, and to jointly work to advance the common good. Throughout the year, the United Nations has been encouraging states to make pledges for meaningful human rights action. I am delighted that the government of Samoa will be submitting its pledge in Geneva during a high-level Human Rights 75 event on 11th December, and we look forward as the United Nations system to work with other partners to support government to implement the pledge. The theme chosen by the Office of the Ombudsman to commemorate this year's Human Rights Day, the right to education, is important and suitable. Article 26 of the Declaration emphasizes the importance of accessible education for all, promoting the full development of human personality and fostering respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms, and to promote understanding, tolerance, and friendship among all nations and peoples. To help us appreciate this year's theme, and as part of our program today, there will be an announcement of the winners of the TikTok competition and the poetry competition to explain what right to education means to them. I congratulate the winners and thank everyone who has participated in this competition. Ladies and gentlemen, while the responsibility for ensuring the enjoyment of human rights rests with government, we all have a role to play in promoting and protecting human rights. I want to share a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt, who was the chair of the United Nations Commission which drafted the declaration, who said, and I quote, "Where, after all, do human rights begin? In small places, close to home, so close and so small that they cannot be seen on any maps of the world. Yet they are the world to the individual person, the neighborhood he or she lives in, the school or the college he or she attends, the factory, the farm, or the office where he or she works. Such are the places where every man, woman, and child seeks equal justice, equal opportunity, equal dignity without discrimination. Unless these rights have meaning there, they have little meaning elsewhere. Without concerted citizen action to uphold them close to home, we shall look in vain for progress in the larger world. end of quote. I would therefore like to remind us that human rights start with us. They start with you and me. And through small actions that we can take every day, which will have a ripple effect elsewhere. I am particularly encouraged to see individuals, especially children and young people, including those that have joined us today, and women in Samoa who stand up for justice, equality, and freedom, not only in Samoa but also beyond the borders of Samoa. Let us leverage the Samoan cultural heritage, the Fa'a Samoa, which teaches us the values of respect, compassion, and justice. It is through these values that we can create a society where every individual's rights are respected and upheld. However, we must also acknowledge that challenges persist, and we must address them collectively under government's leadership. We are still in the period of 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, and I want to use this opportunity to highlight the challenge of gender-based violence, which continues to have devastating impacts, especially on the lives of women, girls, and children in Samoa. Let us remember that women's rights are human rights. It is our shared responsibility to dismantle the barriers that hinder the full enjoyment of human rights for all, and I call upon you and all the stakeholders to be part of the champions for human rights and to support human rights defenders. Tafetai Tele Lava Soifua.
Thank you, Mr. Tempa Kalua, for your remarks. We look forward to working with you and the United team to strengthen our national responses to human rights in Samoa. Ia, manatu e, tautonu manatu leo ua ui le neia unoa. Wala ua tuai ma le whaarualo le awhiu ma le whaatuosi o le tanga luna wa onga, ta onga manganuku, o mana sauronga. Ladies and gentlemen, the rights to education is an enabling right to access other rights, such as an adequate standard of living and well-being. This year's theme is Revitalizing Human Rights Awareness with focus on rights to education in Samoa. We are blessed to have with us today the Chief Executive Officer of the Ministry of Education and Culture to share more on these human rights this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Afionga Aiao Chris Hazelman for his speech.
Sunga te tai sani, sunga te tuli, aro roman manu, no whionga ni. Te tai tato komisio su whainga, me whapea i a whionga ni. Sui o manu whatasi, tonga tato atunu, me whapea ni manu, sa mo koto. Dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the invitation. I guess being the final speaker, we have a 4x1 here, and so I'm the anchor leg, and with the anchor leg means I'm supposed to try and bring it home with impact. Please forgive my laptop, because in the mad rush to get here, I only realized I brought the wrong speech. The speech I brought was the speech for a primary school prize giving, and hence I had to chase my driver back to the office to get the laptop so that I will be able to present. On days like today, we are reminded that education is not a privilege, but a human right. The right to an education is legally guaranteed for all without discrimination. And therefore, as governments, we are obligated to protect, respect, and fulfill the right to an education. But I'd like to speak and look at the right to education from a Samoan context. I want to make one thing clear, that from my own perspective, based on years of teaching and dealing with education in Samoa, we must be open-minded and ask ourselves, do we really get educated in schools, in colleges, and in universities? Don't get me wrong, we receive a lot of information. We need information to be educated, but we also need to know the true meaning of education. Intellectual education influences the head. Value-based education influences the heart. If we only concentrate on the head, then it would be dangerous. Because to build character in our homes, character in our ministries, in our offices, in our community at large, we must achieve levels of morals and ethics. Therefore, education that builds fundamental traits of character, such as honesty, responsibility, taking initiative, not needing to be told, courage, persistence, is absolutely essential. With respect, in my own view, Samoa does not need more academic education, but we need more value-based education. There is no point in having excellent academic qualifications if you are lacking in morals and values. Samoa, like the rest of the world, are facing many forms of challenges. For example, the level of literacy. There is no difference between a person who cannot read and a person who can read but doesn't read. And we have a large percentage of that in Samoa. Samoans are literate. Unfortunately, we don't read. Then there is, through social media and ICT, the kind of information that people are reading. The more connected we are, there is more lies through social media. Fake news, fake information, and the tone of the language. 90% of social media is venting, and that confuses the children who are my clients. And therefore, I come back to the principles. The Whasinumanga and the Tupuanga, your identity and your heritage are not negotiable in Samoa. They are a part of who you are. Because as Samoans will ask two questions. So regardless of what you're doing in your education background, or what comments you're making on social media, people will ask, education should teach literacy, yes, numeracy, science, health and well-being, climate change and resilience, the trades and vocations, digital literacy. But we should also build on character, commitment, conviction, courtesy, courage, and most important, common sense. There is no good in intellectual education without understanding human dignity and compassion. The late Imam Tatesumi Simi wrote in a poem, "Learn to speak Samoan, not so that you may sound Samoan, but so you can know the true meaning of the essence of being Samoan." My years in the Catholic education system, I used the mottos of the different schools, and I would drive this message that the mottos of the schools have to be living documents, that the students have to live that motto. So, the motto for Paul VI College, put it to the deep. The motto for St. Mary's College, Alama Christiana, the spirit of Christianity. St. Joseph's College, Tausisi Imea Upito Leo, strive always for the good. And the motive of Chanel College, Ta'afi Maui Fa'atuatua, hold steadily onto the faith. Now that I am the CEO of the ministry, I've added Samuel College, Atamai, Itautua Musala. And therefore, I would like to end that as educators and as people who are firmly believing in education, I put together all of these schools' motto to be the driving force of education in Samoa. Tutu i loto le alanga kerisiai. Matau sisi I mea au pito le dei, ta awhi mau le whatutua, a ia maua le atamai, I tautua o Samoa. Monuti le ina whatasinga nekta ea, thank you.
Taitiri lau whiwhionga ai au mura o fosanga mātanga fie. E au tala ai le sao e matanga wenga I taimua I whanua ina le tāua o le atatau o a onga I Samoa. We have a slight change in our program. I've been told that we need to have a group photo before our screening of the short film. But I'd like to invite everyone at the front for a group photo.
photo, and up there we'll say Happy Human Rights Day 2023 for a video. Okay. Tasi, Lua, Toby. Okay. Are we going to do the video? Can you repeat? Let's say, Tasi, Lua, Toby. Happy Human Rights Day 2023. Save you some freedom. Tasi, Lua, Toby. Happy Human Rights Day 2023. Okay, let's hum the oven. We're going to go Tasi, Lua, Toby. Happy Human Rights Day 2023.
Next on our program, we'll screen a short film titled Change Makers, featuring Marcelina Yuta. Is a more human rights educator with hearing impairment. Ole tātou tūkalami so oila tātou tau sila mai moa i se ata o tūwhatasia e tūkalami ia whaingoa i ngā o Change Maker. Ua o whaion whamatalai ngā i ia le ranga o tua whine ia o tinata e Marcelina Yuta.
Approximately 1.7 million people in the Pacific are living with some form of disability. The Pacific Disability Approximately 1.7 million people in the Pacific are living with some form of disability. The Pacific Disability Forum has documented that people with disabilities in the Pacific experience many cultural and physical barriers to full participation, as well as lack of access to communities, education, and the workplace. In Samoa, nearly 1,000 people cannot hear at all, or have a lot of difficulty. The majority of deaf and hard-of-hearing communities are located in rural areas of Upolu and Savaii Islands. Of the population with disabilities in Samoa, 9.6 have never been to school, compared to 1.7 of those without disabilities. Only 4% of the population with disabilities are formally employed. These statistics highlight the exclusion rates of persons with disabilities in Samoa and the need of human rights education. My name is Marcelina Ayuta. I am 24 years old and I am proud to be a human rights educator because I am part of a movement that ensures people with disabilities have equal access to their human rights. My work is very important to me because as a deaf child living in rural Savaii, I didn't have a lot of access to important things. When I was 4 years old, I started attending school, but I had never learned sign language. I had never seen someone use sign language. Growing up with no access to sign language meant that I was unable to communicate effectively with my teachers, explain to a doctor when I felt sick, or understand what the pastor was saying in church every Sunday. I felt very isolated, and like I couldn't keep up with the other kids my age. I didn't know what was happening in my community, and I always got bad grades in school because I never understood what the teacher was trying to teach us. It wasn't until I was much older that I realized I had the same rights as people without disabilities. And when I was supported with a sign language interpreter, I could do the same things as everyone else. There are many interventions needed to ensure that people with disabilities have equal, meaningful access in all of society. One aspect is human rights education, not only for people with disabilities to understand their own human rights, but also for people without disabilities so they can understand that everyone has the same rights and they too can support the promotion of accessible and inclusive opportunities. The Deaf Association of Samoa was established in 2017 by myself, along with approximately 20 other people who are deaf. We wanted to have an organization that was governed and led by persons who are deaf and hard of hearing. I took on a much larger role as an educator and teacher when I joined the association as a staff member in 2020. Now, a large part of my job is working with the deaf community to understand their human rights in the context of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which was ratified by the government of Samoa in 2016. My role involves me working closely with the members of the deaf community to learn about their own human rights and support them to advocate for their rights to access education, employment, and health services, to name a few. I specifically work with young people with disabilities. I have found that youth with disabilities always want to engage in human rights education. We keep our programs activity-based and engaging, and we are always asked to come back and run more programs. Talofa. My name is Melissa. My sign name, Melissa. Marcelina has an important role in pushing programs for persons with disabilities, deaf in particular. We also work together to make sure that the deaf community receives the right information and that they understand their rights and how they are protected by these rights just like other people. She is a young Samoan woman who has earned international recognition, like with the Commonwealth Award. We hope that other young women who are deaf will rise up and take on the challenge together, like Marcelina has, for the benefit of the deaf community, so that we can continue to fight and support the rights of those who are deaf in Samoa. I'm really proud of the fact that through my work, am able to ensure deaf-led advocacy for the deaf community. Being a young deaf woman from Sava'i, Samoa, I get to speak throughout the country to members of the deaf community, and I can see the impact it has. You can't be what you can't see. And I hope that seeing me in this space inspires the next generation of the deaf community to understand their rights and see that they can be anything they want to be. The big changes I've seen have been at the individual and family level. Working with families of young deaf children in Sava'i, I see them realize that their child could grow up to take on leadership roles and work to support their family, just like me. Another exciting change has been seeing the increased confidence of deaf women and men my own age. We're realizing that access to inclusive education and employment opportunities is possible. And that with knowledge of their human rights, they can advocate for opportunities in their own lives. The world needs human rights education because we are not all born with equal access. And it can be difficult to advocate for ourselves if we don't know what our rights are.
Yeah, I would like to invite Ms. Momoko on the stage. Ms. Momoko will elaborate more on the short film. If you have any queries, any questions about the film, and she will, and the panel of moderators will help you.
Thank you so much, Fatal, and very good morning to you all. My name is Momoko Nomura. I'm Human Rights Advisor at the UN Resident Coordinator Office, and it's a really pleasure to be here with you today to celebrate Human Rights Day. So just to explain a little bit about the film that you just saw, this is a longer film called Changemakers, Stories of Young Human Rights Educators. And the actual full film actually includes 7 human rights educators from South Africa, Kyrgyzstan, Morocco, Serbia, Mexico, Japan, and as well as Samoa, very own Marcelina, Utah. And this full film is actually going to be launched in Geneva, where Temba spoke. There will also be a high-level event to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So Marcelina was planning to be here with us today, but she's in Sava'i. And she's also traveling to Geneva to be part of this event as well. So it's been a very busy schedule for her. So we're still hopeful that she might be able to join us towards the end of the event today. But just to explain that, yes, this film featuring Marcelina is really an honor to have someone like Samoa advocating for change or making differences in the community like she explained. But I'm also happy to share also other human rights educators here in Samoa who are with us today. Thank you very much for coming. So first, our panel of speakers who are here with me on my left. So I'd first like to introduce Ms. Aya Aoki, who is the Education Program Specialist and currently the Officer in Charge at the UNESCO Pacific Office. So a round of applause for Aya, please. Thank you, Aya. I was just wondering, maybe you could explain us a little bit about, UNESCO obviously has a key role in promoting education in Samoa as well as in the Pacific. So we've heard a lot this morning about the importance of inclusive education, the meaning of education. Like the CEO was saying, it's not just about facts, but also building character. So I was wondering if you could maybe talk a little bit about your views on education and what UNESCO is doing.
Thank you for the introduction, Momoko. And as Momoko introduced, my name is Aya, and it's a great pleasure to be here this morning, Reverend Nasiri, The UNESCO Pacific Office is based here and as well as in Fiji, and we also have a representative in the Federated States of Micronesia and Papua New Guinea. And so we support 17 Pacific countries and in the multi-sectoral areas, including education, culture, science, communication, information, and other areas. And today I was asked to reflect on the film and share some of the related initiatives in education that our UNESCO office supports, and perhaps share also resources that all of you can access and take advantage of. So one thing that struck me from the film is the fact that the Miss Lena did not realize the rights for education until later on in her stage. And as educator, we feel that it is our role and responsibility to have the realization happen from the beginning, not later at the stage when she realized, like, oh, I too have a right, equal access to quality education, just as anybody else. And today we are focusing on the inclusivity and persons with disabilities, but this applies to all other background differences. We are all coming from different gender, different locations we're including remote locations, coming from different social, different economic aspect. All of us do have the same rights to education. And one of the roles that we are trying to share with as UNESCO is to help the government, including the Samoa government, to include these kinds of human rights education and understanding about what we call a global citizenship education, understanding about the difference that people have, and we also call education for sustainable development, how we recognize what we have in the community, how we act relates to the global action, for example, the climate change and so on. So we do work with the partners and the government and have developed a number of resources that you can take into integrate in your curriculum, the teaching and learning resources on the global citizenship education. This includes the importance of human rights, as well as the education for sustainable development resources. And in particular, the latter, education for sustainable development resources, were adapted specifically to the Pacific context based on the inputs received from the 7 of the Pacific countries, including Samoa. And these resources are available from early childhood level up to the tertiary level. And these are all called open educational resources, so no copyrights. Anybody who is interested in accessing and adapting further to your context, to your needs, they're all available. The second area that I'd like to highlight in terms of ensuring the human rights, the activation at the individual and the school level, is that briefly talked about the Samoa ICT and Education project that we have been implementing in partnership with the Ministry of Education and Culture with support from the government of Japan. So this project tries to address the inequality based on the geographic factors as well as economic factors and serving the needs of students with disabilities. So the project supported the 20 remote schools connecting with the ICT and internet, and helped the teachers utilize the multimedia to deliver education, quality education. And the project also is supporting the students' disabilities in partnership with the Disability Preference Group, NOLA, and other organizations, and the Inclusive Education Unit of the Ministry of Education. And especially this part on assistive technology usage and support for teachers and so on. This is an ongoing work, and we hope to continue working with many of you to ensure that these are available. The idea is to have established a model so we can further expand in Samoa. The second area from the film that Ms. Linda mentioned of the importance, in addition to the recognition of rights of human rights at the individual level, is to empower and work with the community and work with the group. She talked about the importance of the leadership, and she has established her own organization. And in this area, we have worked together with the Pacific Disability Forum and again with NOLA to develop resources and help from the International Labour Organization, that the advocacy material and the strategy to involve the community, work with different partners to promote the human rights with various the civil society organization. And we did develop the platform of resources that are available, and also worked with a number of the civil society organizations in Samoa, as well as for 3 other countries, and Cook Island, Niue, and Tokelau last year. Ms. Winter also mentioned about the importance of having access to employment. I mean, all of us would like to continue learning and continue contribute to the society in various manners. And we understand the securing the employment among the persons with disabilities and in other groups may be challenging. In this area, we have worked with the National University of Samoa and again with NOLA, and the awareness raising and advocacy among the employers on how to support and how to ensure that the persons with disability has equal rights to employment, and what are some of the considerations they may need and resources that they could use. Another support that we provided is to work with the various training organizations that provide the technical vocational educational skills training, to also include and provide opportunities for persons with disabilities. I think the third area that I'd like to add is that, I hope you would agree that in addition to the individual school level, organization, community level, we also need to support the national level framework and environment. And we thank the Ombudsman's Office and many of the government offices in translating these vision into the policies, programming, and action. Some of the support that we provided earlier includes the study research on the fiscal space, the options of to feed into the development of Samoa's disability inclusion policy and scheme and framework, to inform what are the possible options to provide the public support, public social protection systems in Samoa. And this we worked together with the resident coordinator's office and many of the UN agencies. And related to this is to help work with the disability reference group, the civil society organization that has much of the technical knowledge and expertise to work together with the government and achieve the policy development as well as the program development. And this we worked in Samoa as well as in 3 other countries that we have mentioned. And final area includes the promotion of the public access to information, which was also mentioned as an importance by the Ombudsman. And this through our Samoa Knowledge Society initiative that we earlier worked with the Ombudsman Office to ensure all the public laws, policies, public services can also be accessible by persons with disabilities, those who are living in remote areas, and others. For example, I understand in the Cook Island that through our support they were able to translate some of the laws and policies into Braille and other forms, so more accessible to wider group of people. So all of these, I also look forward to learning more from you, all of you, how you are taking in your community, in your school, in your organization, how you're taking the human rights in implementation and moving it forward. And as the resident coordinator and others has mentioned, it really takes all of us, the collective efforts from different levels coming together to achieve the rights of the people. Some of the and I also look forward to your guidance on what are areas that we could be of support. And some of the next steps that we're thinking includes the further support in ensuring the assistive technologies and the devices and teacher support is provided in education and in schools, and help increase the number and of the organizations, teacher trainers, and so on, who are able to support the students with disabilities at the school and at the organization level. And the adaptation, integration of available regional resources into the Samoa's context, in your school context, as well as help to extend our support to beyond the physical disabilities. We're trying to work on the action research to understand better the different the learning challenges that the students may be having. Very little is known. What support at what stage could be provided, and so on. So this is another area that we would like to extend our support. Thank you again for this opportunity, and then again I will look forward forward to hearing more from you on your activities and how we can work together. Thank you.
Education program specialist at UNESCO. Natural tong fai family want to ngana fasa oya tato session ni o ya ole to tele o alum fa na uma na to tato ma fitande taya ya ole na ye fisigi to win no moko le suiri UNESCO. Ole asenga gwenga ni UNESCO fa tino to mo le atu lango ina ai fa nursery ai ta ua o winter vacation. Yeah, ole sangoa ia suinga maka. Ole na tala noa le lima I ono ia vala na whangoa mai. O kasili sa atu ina iai, ole ha se ngā ruenga li UNESCO. Le UNESCO le si lea pautu malo fantas I tono le tunu. Ia.
Ansa o whanau ole a maua ia whailo ngā mea se whamole la. Ia, e mamole na whaafitai na ole lua lawa mai aso to what's lunga tato Facebook page tato competition, tato poem and TikTok competitions for our young people. Ia, ai whaafitai le tali mai. Ia, e la mona le nga whaafitai. Ia, sa to wina to tato themes for tato topics. All topics were based on the rights to education. Ia, if I know my foile Human Rights Day, ua whelo tonu nei sana. Ia, ola ne tele tala, ola a mata e tauwanga tu singa solo. Ia, ole tamaitai, ua mawaina tulanga muamua, I le tauwanga solo, e salma ile afioanga, o sale au mua ya le pata. Ia, o tamaitai lea o so o tanga, ka rene. Nice party. Ia, wale o mai ka ia so tanga o lea o mai siona tama whapea o lea so nei o launga tongia so tanga wale mawhai na awai mai ia whawhitai lava le awai mai and congratulations to so tanga. Ia, o leo tūlanga lua. Le te tato special prize o tūlanga lua. Maua fo ia tamaitai o tui lea na papa tinei tu ia. All the way from Tuanai Village. Ia, nasa patipati. She's a young female and she takes second place in the poem competition. Malo whaatai molo sao. Third place to Lantolo, Hawaina Eleali, young male, Mosa Asuelu from Vaitalifo. Nice Pastati. Faftai lo sao lo awai mai tanto tamanga. Yeah, no, my later to consolation prizes. So sort of my to my a young female of 16 years old, blessing you Leo, all the way from Samusu, Alibata. My spatspati mona yalam kamau. Yeah, uma placing you Leo, so my Aitua, Maria, Gloria, Nautu. Yeah, amanua mai fuita ma elewa manoa mai nai whanau, mole aso leo lato prize giving ya oma. Whaafitai mole sauta ua, ili whaamana ona tuina o le aso ai a te tau tangata soifua I Samoa. So mai tua le situ lava tatou solo o le tamaitai Monica le sa mai le afioanga mai le uta. Give a hand for Monica. Hello, Monica. Thank you. Yeah, and so many ma Mercy Utule. Mercy Utule po away mai. She is also a young female from Falealini. Yeah, ele away mai. Ele away mai ia le suilia. Yeah, so mai pa tela so from the village of Palisi, a young male of 15 years old. Malo faftai molo sao tatu tawanga. Let's start a consolation. A young female again, 19 years old, Simona Leo, all the way from Tiavera. Le away malitina. Malo fatai, esalo walo, etatu tawanga. So Mayai, another female of 17 years old, Jacinta So'o from Palisi. Sorry, wa pau fa mon mole la to lo pau fa I longa ngai sa ola vai tu le lau lai tua o lo ia ti tata pe pata wa ti sai ni ai fa mon mole la vai no tupe le table lai tu mai tu ai o e vai na le sa mo prices fa mon mole o so mai ai a kenese mawama 11-year-old female from Faleasiu. So Mayai Mayoa Taulave, a female of 10 years old, a male of 10 years old from Pasaota. Ya, sa ola vai tua le lau lai tua tu se elo ingoa. Ya. Na so maile ma Timothy, Timo Petelo, all the way from Tiavea. A young male of 28 years old. Malo lang paftay. So mayai Tapu Junior Phelan from Pasaota, another young male of 15 years old. Lestato Failonga Mawaine Seymour Talusanga, a female of 19 years old from the village of Faleasiu. Po away mai Seymour, ile away mai se Olesitato Consolation Prize of Catalin Aimasu, a female of 15 years old. Ile away mai fo ibaenga lea, ile faina tato TikTok. paenga sa aumayana to TikTok videos. Fatau the rights to education. Tulanga mua ai le video o le TikTok. Mai tui le ana papa tine tu ya. First place in the TikTok competition. A young female of 21 years old from Samatau and Tuanai. Malu lava. Second place for our TikTok with competition goes to Valerie Tayatsu, a young female from the village of Solo Solo. Malu lava. Third place in TikTok competition goes to Benjamin Evalu, a young male of 27 years old from the village of Null. Oletavanga TikTok, it's just a draw to third place. Magwe Benjamin Evalu, Manchamal, Moses, Sipili. Third place in TikTok competition. A young male of 14 years old from the village of Nufo. Malo lava. Yanum Fanao. Keep on advocating for human rights and the rights to education for young people. Ia matatu consolation o tato TikTok. Mawaina Melinda So'o. Mai Palisi. A young female of 17 years old. Ona mai ai leo tato langa atongi momoli atu whaktai tama. Mais tato pati mo tato prize winners. Another round of applause for our prize winners for our poem and TikTok competition for our Human Rights Day 2023. Ia melok whalo lava whaktai.
Ya, malu fakta sih cuma satu kuat jadi kalau mulu ya. Malu orang kacau tu, orang buat ni buat tu pintu orang buat TikTok. Di mana ya aku yang di orang mesti macam lagi istri buat TikTok. Kalau tu aku ni mana ya? Lei, oleh buat tu titi kacau boleh tahu dia kacau boleh mana tu le. Ya, jadi serta boleh sifat fiti. Ya, lesa tanto malu fatas ni yasu, malu fatas. Ya, oleh mesti fiel tanto macam. Ya, oleh teman tak ini siapa ni dia tanto itu sudah mana. Musuh dia malu fatas si, kalau bapa luang tanto office ni, ini yang fayun fatah mungkin ni fatah mungkin. Ya, may I call upon UN Resident Coordinators Rep, Miss Momoko Nomura. She is the